Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan, and the topic of this 10-minute moan is quite an outrageous comment by Patrick Harvie, the Green guy, you know, the party. His comments about a potential trip to Scotland by Donald Trump. So Patrick, he's insisted that the next US president should not be welcomed by locals if he's flying in to open a new golf course in Aberdeenshire next year. Planned visit by Donald Trump to Scotland next year should be met with mass protest, this crackpot's telling us. He spoke out after Eric Trump yesterday suggested his father would fly to Aberdeenshire sometime in 2025 to open a new golf course at the family's existing resort. Trump Sr. will return to the White House in January after winning the US elections earlier this month against Kamala Harris. Harvie is a Scottish Greens co-leader. He said, "I'm certain that Donald Trump's visit will be met with protests and anger. Scotland must be loud and clear that we do not agree with his toxic values or his harmful business ventures." This is the guy that's the co-leader of the Greens, because the Greens have got this thing in their constitution that they must have, it's brilliant, a male and a female co-lead, right? You can't differentiate. But in the same turn, tell us there's about 26 different genders, but they only have two co-leaders, a male and a female. Bit contradictory there, Mr. Harvie, you've not thought that one through. So, his toxic values include, as I've done in a video earlier today, expelling members of his party for telling us Hamas are a terror organisation. So therefore, his toxic values tell us that they're not. His party are currently trying to get the British government, who have Hamas down as a prescribed terror group, to take them off the list. That's his values. His business ventures that he wants to knock other people for, they include losing tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions by the time all the claims are finished, wasting on a deposit return scheme that never get through Parliament. Did get through our Parliament, wasn't accepted by Westminster because it was contradictory to current UK legislation, and you can't do that. But we spent lots of money getting it through, and lots of companies spent lots of money getting themselves set up for a thing that ultimately failed. You tell me you want to have a pop at someone for harmful business ventures and attack their values. Your values and business. The other cracking green one is banning log burners. And we've all to get these, what is it they call it again, the air supply heating that costs about 30 to 100 grand to put in a house. That's your ideas of business, you absolute cretinous twat. Anyway, he said he's dangerous, fraudulent, misogynistic, climate change denier who claims to love our country while destroying our natural landscapes with garish golf courses and resorts for the wealthy. Yes, Patrick, it's golf. One of the greatest Scottish traditions that we imparted onto the world, celebrated the world over. We have people spending millions of pounds every year to come to these shores as visitors, to put money into all the local economies and play golf. You want to call it somebody building a golf course, destroying our natural landscape with garish golf courses and resorts for the wealthy. Well, if you're going to expect people to fly halfway around the world to come and play golf, spend lots of money in hotels and restaurants and all that stuff, you kind of need to make sure they're wealthy. Because if they're not, they can't come. So of course you're going to build a golf course and hotels and try and attract the wealthy. It's how commerce works, you absolute half-wit. You're one of these crackpots that's just, you've got to give everybody everything for nothing, and we can't really figure out how we're going to pay for it. We must keep in mind that this is a man whose vitriol and misinformation incited violence in his own country and continues to breed hatred and division. He represents everything that we as a nation do not wish to be. Right, Patrick, got a wee thing. You might want to consider this, right? See, when somebody has an opinion, let's say Trump has a bag of opinions over here, and people want to get violent and hate towards him. Could be that mob that's wrong, huh? Might be a bit of both, I don't know. But you're one of these absolute crackpots that believes whatever you believe is so virtuous and righteous that everybody else is an absolute scumbag. Yeah, some people might view you as that person because you are an advocate of queer theory, transgender, all this nonsense. That's your thoughts. I don't quite agree with them. So stop giving us this virtuous nonsense. It's got to stop sometime. You're running out of time. You're running out of allies. Most people are seeing the light. His investments here in Scotland have already been cited as part of a recent criminal case in New York, which is why we have consistently called for the Scottish Government to issue an unexplained wealth order to investigate his dealings. Meanwhile, John Swinney said, "We've all moved on." When asked about Eric Trump's comments about the First Minister's support for Kamala Harris, the President-elect Donald Trump's son said it was nasty of the First Minister to endorse a Democratic rival ahead of voting, saying that Swinney had read the temperature very wrong. Kind of get that, Eric. Totally agree with you. The man's an absolute crank. Eric also hit out the Scottish Government's record in business, saying too much red tape is putting off international investors. Got to take your point for it, mate, because you're an international investor that kind of is getting put off with the red tape. So when he said, "I think what's important is that when you get asked questions as a politician, you just give an answer that you think you just give the answer that you think you should give. And I gave the answer that I thought I should give." No, Mr. Swinney. I think it's important when you're asked a question as a politician, you give your own answer. The truth. You don't think that you have got to give the answer that you think you should give. No, just be honest and straight, you absolute crackpot. But I recognise that we've all moved on since then. We've had the US election. President-elect Trump is getting ready for office. There's barking, man. I've never seen a reaction like this, anywhere near this, for the successive winning election of a foreign head of state. I know America's a very big influence on what happens in the rest of the Western world, but it's just mental. You know, I've seen all the nutcases, we've all seen all the nutcases screaming and shouting and losing the plot online, right? That kind of par for the course, that's social media. The vast majority of people on it are howling at the moon. But then when you see politicians, the same vitriol, it's mental. It's absolutely mental. Calm down, right? We've had Republican presidents before. We've even had Trump before. And see if you actually sit down and analyse his term in office, it wasn't actually bad. And one of the best things was, I think he was the first, certainly in modern time, the first American president not to have lost a soldier at war. Because he didn't have any. Okay, COVID kind of stopped us, right? But that was only in the last year his term. Excuse me a second. Dearie me, that was a belter. Bet you Patrick Harvie thinks I've let some CO2s into the ether there, and will probably want to shut down my YouTube channel. So there you go. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please hit the subscribe and notification bell. Please send some comments. I really like the comments. Comments are always good. But most importantly of all, unless you're Patrick Harvie, who's evidently a lunatic, or John Swinney, who thinks as a politician you should just give the answers that you think you should give. Right? No, John. Tell us the truth. So, not yous, none of yous, but
everyone else, have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.